I'm going to plane all my boards down to 1/2 inch to match the size of the box joint. Next I'm going to rip my walnut down to 4.5 inches because I'm using this for the sides, so 4.5 will be the height of all the side pieces. After this, I cut 4 pieces at 6 inches. I'm connecting all these pieces using box joints, so I'm using this router jig that I made in a previous video, and I'll have a link in the description to this one if you haven't seen it yet. I'm using maple for the top and bottom of the box to help contrast with the color of the walnut. So now I need slots in all the sides so I can fit the top and bottom pieces in there. I'm just using an 1/8 inch slot, which I'm just cutting using the table saw, because that's the curve of the blade. Because of the way I cut the slots on the table saw, there's going to be some visible slots on the side. I'm just going to cover these up with some splines. I went through somewhat of a long process figuring out the design and cutting out the design for the top and bottom. I thought it would be cool to have this tiered design on it, and I ended up making a bunch of passes on the table saw first and then hogging out all the material using the radial arm saw. Now this worked, but I think it would have been a lot safer and easier just to use a router table, hogging out the design that way. It's important to pre-finish the top and bottom because these are actually floating panels, so if you finish the entire thing together afterwards, you may see hard lines or spots where there's no finish as they shrink. After the glue dries, I sand down all the joints to get rid of any remaining glue, but also just to make sure all the joints are level. Next I'm going to work on adding the splines, and I'm using the spline jig that I made in a previous video, which I'll also link below. My next step here is to cut the box in half, and I realized later, when I decided I wanted to make this a card box, that I should have made the lid smaller, but you'll see what I mean later. Once the polyurethane was dry, that's when I decided it would be cool to make this a card box, something to hold these gold playing cards. So I decided to make a walnut insert to hold these cards so they wouldn't slide around, and that way it kind of presents them more. It just kind of has a cooler look when you open it. Next, for adding the latch, this is where, if I planned ahead and knew what kind of latch I wanted, I could have cut the lid so that the latch would center as you add it. So that would have been kind of cool, but I still like how this turned out anyway.